person connected with me right now. I pray, Father in heaven, that God, the words of our mouth would make a difference. I pray for value today, that value be added to everyone's life, and that we'll be able to understand where we are and understand the need for change. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, once again, you're welcome again to this moment of mentoring and interaction and teaching and training. And I hope that you get value out of today's session. So today I'll be digging deep and exploring some very important things about change. You know, if you were here last week, you would have gone through the introduction that I gave about the need for change, and that change is the bridge between here and there. Change is the bridge between here and there, and it's a bridge you've got to navigate in order for you to get to your destination. In order for you to get to the destination you want to go through, you've got to navigate change. It's really important if you're going to go from here to there. That is key. If you will remember very clearly last week, I talked about the three components of change. I talked about clarity, and then the question I asked there, what is the desired change? So clarity is the vision of there from here. If you remember very clearly, I illustrated some of this, and I'll see if I can just bring that up for you guys to be able to understand. I'll just draw that up very quickly here now so that we can just be reminded. I remember I drew, two posts, and I said this is here. I think I'll just use my finger. This is here, all right, and this is there. And I said change is that bridge. Okay, change is the bridge that connects here to there. Change is the bridge that connects here to there. That is change, all right? But in order for you to be able to navigate change, you're here at this stage. You've got to have a clear picture of there from here. You've got to have a clear picture of where you're going to from here in order to be able to navigate change successfully and effectively. You need to have clarity. So the three components of change. Number one, clarity. If you're there, I want you to please start it out for me. Number one, clarity. Where am I going? This is where I am now. Where do I see myself in the next 1 month? Where do I see myself in the next 2 months? Where do I see myself in the next 3 months? Where do I see myself in the next year? Clarity is really important. Clarity, and clarity. Okay? So that's really the first thing. The second thing is alignment. So it's not enough to have clarity about your destination. You now need to align yourself to that vision, because a vision is a mental picture of the future. You can write that down. Your vision of life, the vision for your life is a mental picture of your future. But in order for you to go through change and go through this bridge successfully, it's not enough for you to see there. You have to align yourself with the vision. That means on a daily basis, you need to walk in steps that will take you there. Someone said that the journey of a mile starts with a single step. Well, that step has to be in the right direction, on the right track. If you are taking steps that will take you away from your vision, you cannot achieve it. One of the things I said last week is that a distraction is an attraction that takes your attention from your main vision. A distraction is an attraction. All distractions are attractions. And anything can be an attraction. Your relationship can be an attraction. Your marriage can be an attraction. Your job can be an attraction. As long as that attraction detracts you from your vision, it is a distraction. A distraction is an attraction that distracts you from your vision. Your vision is the mental picture you have of there. Where am I going? Where do I see myself in the next 1 year? Where do I see myself in the next 2 years? Where do I see myself in the next 3 years? Where do I see myself in the next 4 years? That is your vision. So your vision is a mental picture of where you're going. My job as a change agent is to help you navigate this journey from where you are to where you want to go to. But in order for you to do that, you need to have clarity of purpose. You need to also align yourself with the vision that you have. And that has to be intentional. You know, when I was in medical school, in our first year, we were taught this. We were having an orientation program. And one of the speakers said this, and Never forgot it. He said, the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. Successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do once in a while. What I realized was that if I wanted to succeed, I need to develop a culture of consistent application. That means I need to apply myself on a daily basis. And I realized that those of us in school that were really, doing well, were what was unique about us was that we were consistent in our application. We were consistent in our application. We studied every single day, whereas some of the other students that struggled studied when it was time for the exam. That's alignment, because I had a clear vision of where I want to be. I want to see myself standing on the podium receiving an award. If that is the vision that you have, you've got to align yourself with that vision. And that takes intentional, voluntary, deliberate discipline. Working hard on a daily basis in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Are we together? I hope you're getting me. I hope you're with me. So I'm just giving you, this is, I've not even started the content for today. I'm just giving a revision of what we talked about the last time. The other thing I said very clearly to all of us, for those who are here and those who have not watched the video of the recording, is that the difference between here and there is T. T is time. So I said there are three components of change: clarity of there, aligning yourself with the journey, and understanding the place of time. And that's patience. Patience is really key. Be patient enough to walk your way through whatever change you're going through is important. Change does not happen in a day, but it happens daily. These are the words of John Maxwell. Every single day you're going through change, but it doesn't just happen in a day. It's a paradox, isn't it? The other thing I talked about 7 values of change. And those are the things we'll be exploring today. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is what I have lived through. So there's nothing I'll be sharing here. And I'll be telling you a lot of my personal stories. All right. Because that's what mentoring is. Mentoring is using a mentor uses their own experience to encourage and to bring out the best in the mentee. For all of you here, this is not a coaching session. Generally when you're in a coaching session, the coach does not talk about themselves. They just want to improve your performance. Coaching is not about teaching. You don't give people facts. A coach does not teach. Serena Williams' coach does not teach her how to hit the ball. She knows how to hit the ball. She's been trained. Serena Williams' coach would only help her develop a game plan that would help her beat whatever opponent she has. All right. So this is not a coaching session. This is a mentoring session, which is basically meant to talk about experience, life experience, and to see how you can develop principles from those life experience that will be applicable in your own life. I'll be talking about 7 values of change that over the years I have experienced, I've walked in, and I've made a difference in my life. And last week I introduced the first one, which is a positive attitude. All right. And over the next 2 weeks, we have 2 more weeks to go in this session. I'll be talking about all the other values of change as I have listed earlier. So today I'll be talking about 2 things: positive attitude and purpose discovery. Those are 2 key values that will help you navigate change. If you're going to navigate change or create a desired change in your life, in your family, in your ministry, wherever you are, 2 key principles are required. Number 1, you need to have a positive attitude. And number 2, purpose discovery. Now, what I'll be doing today is that I'll be sharing with you personal stories of mine. All right. And I will use these stories to illustrate this very important point. So I'll start with the positive approach. Now, there'll be a time for questions after this. I will try as much as possible because I have a respect for everyone's time so that we'll finish on time. All right. But I would start with positive approach. Now, let me just share this experience with you. In 2008, my father became very ill. Now, as a background to that, I'll have to say to you that my father and I never had a really tight relationship because my father left home when he left home because the relationship broke down with my mom. And I will talk about this later when I talk about purpose discovery. So my father was not around most of the time when I was in uni. He left my mom alone with 5 children. My mom had no job, 5 children. So my mom had to start hustling. I remember those days my mom would go to the abattoir. This is in Lagos, to work, to just buy and sell meat. And then she started a small kiosk, a retail business, different kinds of. She was just a hustler. She tried every single thing just to put food on the table for 5 kids with an absent father. And I'm not going to bring my father low that much because he also had his own challenges too. But things were very chaotic at the time. But let me fast track to 2008 when in 2008 my father came back home. He came back home just at the time I was graduating from medical school. Very convenient. After going through 6 years of medical school, 2 years of a computer science degree program, the diploma program, my father showed up and they wanted to throw a party, a graduation party. We had a fight over it. I ended up conceding. So we had all of this. And soon after that, my father became ill. And I remember going on one day to see him unwell. He had a wound on his leg. I thought this wound was unusual, and he had complained about it a few times. So I took him to the hospital where I was working, only for us to find out that he was diabetic and that his blood sugar was ragingly high. The glucometer could not even capture the reading. And after that, we noticed that the circulation in his leg was compromised. There was no blood flow to the leg. So he had to have an amputation because the infection was spreading. He became sick very rapidly, became very unwell. And before you know it, he had an amputation. The wound broke down and another revision of the amputation. So he had multiple surgeries. He ended up losing one limb to this wound from diabetes. He never knew he was diabetic up until the time that he was, I took him to hospital. The irony of this was that my father was admitted in the same ward I was working. I was an intern at the time. I just graduated. I've not even done what for those in Nigeria they call the youth service at the time. So this was a very difficult time for me. I was the first son of the family. I had a sick father. I was the only graduate at the time. At that time, I was in my early 20s at the time because my education was a little bit fast. All right. And so things were very despicable. This was the time of the global financial crisis. 3 months salary I received when I started working. I put everything in Diamond Bank shares. This is Diamond Bank, for those who are not from Nigeria, is a bank that was sort of upcoming at the time, very good bank. And I bought shares there. All my shares crashed. I lost every single thing. I remember going to the the broker, the stockbroker, who told me that the money I invested was about 250,000 naira at the time. I dropped down to about 30,000 naira. I was in tears. I was in tears. He gave me 50,000 naira. I can't forget because it was somebody that I was close to. Came back and my father became very unwell, very sick, very sick. And then, one Sunday morning on the 3rd of November, 2nd of November, I was going home to our local church. I was actually the youth pastor in the local church. So I just wanted to say hello to my dad in the morning, but apparently I passed away in the early hours of the morning. What a shame. And then, of course, we were left with a ridiculous amount of debt. We had so much debt in the hospital that there was just no way to pay. So what I had to do, I had to go to the head of the department. In fact, I was not the head of the department, the professor of pathology, who was our lecturer at the time. Luckily, I had a distinction in his course. I had a distinction in morbid anatomy and pathology. So I went to him and I said, I introduced myself to him. He remembered me very well and he helped us. He wrote a letter to the hospital management that his body should be released. So my father had a burial that was very ordinary, very ordinary. We had nothing at the time. We were in debt and I had no money. All our income, everything. We were soaked in so much debt that it was ridiculous. And I remember that at that time I planned, I was thinking of coming to Australia. Australia was in my mind. I knew exactly what God wanted me to do. But I had not been able to proceed with the old plan because of my father's illness. My father died on a Sunday. 2 or 3 days later, on the Tuesday morning, I took all the money that I had left. I was actually looking through my wardrobe and I realized that there was some amount of money that I found. Apparently, that money I had loaned from a friend or borrowed from a friend with a plan to pay for my father's next surgery. But since he had passed away, I didn't return the money. I just took the money, took it to the bank, converted it to US dollars or Australian dollars, and I paid for my Australian exam. So I paid for my Australian exam with every single thing I had 2 days after my father passed away, even before the burial, because I just felt this was it for me. I needed to take this bold step. I was just looking at the opportunity. I just felt in my mind I wasn't gonna be pushed down. In fact, the day my father died, I still went to church 2 minutes in church. And it wasn't like I was trying to be bold. Of course, I still cried. I never cried in public anyway, but I went on my own. I cried. I felt hurt because I felt my father died a cheap death. And up till now, I think that, if 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 things happen for a reason. But if he had fallen ill now that I'm here in Australia, there's no way with the way he died and with poor healthcare. What killed him was poor healthcare. It wasn't arrows from the village like some people thought at the time. They thought they shot him arrows down at age 61. All right, but it was a painful time. It was a difficult situation. We were in debt. I was the first son. None of my siblings were doing very well. And then my father, when he left, had two other kids elsewhere. So we're now seven siblings. We never had a relationship with those other two women and two ladies, beautiful ladies. When I saw them, I was like, wow, these ones are my blood. They look so much like my dad. Pretty girls, pretty girls. And now my wife and I, we are their parents, so to say, we are responsible for their education and their upkeep on a monthly basis. We look after them now. They're wonderful people. You know what? I've only met them once or twice, actually. Twice. I met them at my father's burial, and I went there, met them when my wife and I went back to Nigeria for our engagement 2 years ago. And yeah, but we talk on the phone regularly and we have a good relationship with them. But those were, that was the situation at the time. Life was hard. It was really hard. And everything looked so bleak. I just thought, how will I do this? How will I move to a new country and leave all my siblings and leave my mom and leave everything, nothing on ground. And, but I just took the leap of faith. And what was interesting about this was that I needed to travel to Australia, but I didn't have any money. I couldn't even afford a flight. And then, just 2 or 3 weeks before my trip, of course, I applied for the visa and I was surprised. That's a long story. I won't bore you with that now. All right. And all of this, all I'm saying is actually in my book that is coming out, Navigating Change. I'll talk about that later. But I got a call from an old mentor, and some of you would have heard it in some of the videos I've done. Mr. Ayo, where I praise the Lord, it's like a dad to me. When my father walked away, he's 7, he was my Sunday school teacher. He paid my way through medical school. But when my father died, this man did not give me a phone call. I sent him a text. My father passed away. He never said anything. It was almost as if once I graduated and I started earning, we were not talking that much. I was going to his place and I was trying, but it looked like it was a little bit distant. I couldn't understand why. But everything happens for a reason. Do you know that he never called me from the time my father passed away? And I felt bitter. I felt angry. I felt this man had just let me down. But I knew that he had been good to me, so I couldn't complain, And then he just called me just after the new year in January, a few weeks to the exam. The exam was the 6th or 7th of February. So about 4 weeks to the exam, he called me and said, Lee, I am so sorry. He was so apologetic. He was apologizing. And your daddy died about 2 months ago. I never said anything. I am sorry. I said, okay, no problem, sir. Then he said, what about the Australian thing? Apparently, he knew about the Australian thing because I was in his house months before my father passed away when I was watching a BBC documentary about Australia. It was a BBC documentary on BBC News. They were talking about Australia, that Australia needed doctors and everything. So I told him that, wow, this is impressive, and I would give it a go. So he asked me, are you going to Australia? I said, no, I'm not going to Australia anymore. My dad had passed away. I'm in debt. I have no money. I've paid for the exams now. I even have a visa to travel to Australia, but I can't afford. I don't know where to stay. I don't have any money. I have nothing. So he said, no, you're going. The next day, he sent me 350,000 naira. At the time, that was the biggest gift I've ever received. 350,000 naira to buy my ticket. So that day, I was just at work and I got an alert. And I saw, wow. So I just went to GTB, which was on the campus at the time. We drew everything I had in the account with 350,000 naira, took a bike, and I was taking a bike straight to the airport in Lagos. On my way out of the campus, I ran into my roommate. And I told the guy to stop. The guy was riding the bike. For those who are not from Nigeria, we have these bikes, And so I told this guy to stop. And I told my roommate, come on, join me. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the airport. I didn't even explain to him. He jumped on the bike and the two of us, we went on straight to the airport. On the way, I told him what was going on. When we got to the airport, we walked straight to the counter. South African Airlines, that was the cheapest. I couldn't go through Emirates or Etihad or any of the other ones. I had to go through South Africa, 19 or 20 hours layover at Johannesburg before connecting to Sydney. Or at that time it was Perth. So I stood there and I looked at this person. I said, yes, I've just checked it online. This is the amount. And I give them the Naira equivalent in US dollar, the Naira equivalent. And the man counted it and said, no, 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 the price had gone up. The price had gone up by hundreds of dollars. I couldn't believe it. In less than an hour, I was arguing. I said, how could the price have gone up? This is not possible. This does not make sense. And the man said, no, there's nothing you can do. So I thought, oh God, I won't be able to, it was almost like the world was crumbling again. How will this happen? Blah, blah, blah. And while we were talking, Kunle said, how much is the amount that's left? I told him exact amount. Kunle said, I'm just coming from my brother. He said, guess what? I just went to collect money. And exactly what you need was what he gave me. I didn't ask for it. I was about to leave my brother's house, and my brother said, take this money. Exact amount, the difference was what he had. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So God knew as I was on the bike that my money was not enough. He had gone ahead of me he realized that my money was not enough. And so he made me flag down the bike, man, told him to stop so that Kunle could join me, because the exact amount that we needed, he had it. God knew that my money was not enough, but he had made a provision for me. It took me a few days or a few weeks later before I could pay him back. But of course, I got the ticket and I came to Australia. Now, let me stop there, because my story is really complicated. And if I start talking about my Australian journey, and I will share with you my Australian journey, okay? As I said, what I'm doing through these sessions is to share my story with you, because I know somebody here will connect with this and will get some strength and some clarity about what they want to do with their lives. Are you with me? Now, I had this situation where I was at the lowest of my lows. And in fact, later I realized I was not the lowest of my lows. But at the time, I felt this was the lowest moment ever. My father just passed away. We had no income coming through the family. My mom had no job. I was an intern. All my savings were gone. All the money I'd kept in shares had gone. We had nothing. I had debt all over. My life felt hopeless. And at the point in time, I thought I would not be able to travel out of the country anymore. I had 2 or 3 admissions to study masters in public health, masters in neuroscience in the UK, but I couldn't afford any. I went for different scholarship interviews. I couldn't get anything. I was frustrated. I was unhappy. I was sad. It was a struggle on a daily basis. Every day I turned up to work. I remember having a young 20-something-year-old, a 26-year-old girl who had what we call SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. For those who are dead doctors here, I know Ifeatu is here, you understand this condition. It's an inflammatory, autoimmune inflammatory disease that affects almost all the organs in the body. This lady had kidney failure, acute kidney failure. And I remember on the 31st of December, 2008, I was an intern in the dialysis center at Lagos University Teaching Hospital in Nigeria. I was there. This lady, I had admitted her a few days later. She needed dialysis, but she couldn't get into the dialysis center for about 3-4 days. By the time she came, she was very sick. We used the term encephalopathic, meaning that her brain was affected by the toxins. 26-year-old graduate. I think she studied English or something. Our older brother was a doctor in the United Kingdom. And I spoke to him that day. The brother was really, very worried. 26-year-old, not married. She had this autoimmune disease, and she was there in the dialysis center. Do you know, as we connected her with the dialysis machine to filter out the toxins out of our system, power went off. There was no power. 13 generators in the hospital. Only 2 of them were working. One to power the intensive care unit and one to power the theaters. There was no power even in the labor ward. Women who were in labor were doing that with lantern or candlelight. That night, 31st of December, that was my last on call. And I looked at this 26-year-old as life went out of her. My heart was broken. We could have saved that girl. We could have. But you know what? At that time, money could not help, because all the private dialysis centers in Lagos had closed. 31st of December. We were in the dark during the new year. I remember when it was 12 midnight, it was new, and I said, God, I must not make another new year here. I want to leave. I want to leave. I was so desperate. I cried that night. Because I looked at this girl that I saw. I was the doctor who admitted this girl when she walked in a few days ago. And I was the doctor who saw her breathe her last a few days later. And she died not because she was cursed. She died because she was in a country that had no regard for life. That was the situation. And that made me feel very sad, very sad. But do you know that Despite all of the situation that even in my job, even though I loved the job, I wasn't enjoying it, I wasn't happy, a lot of those things were happening. I realized that the only way I could really come out of all of this is to have a positive attitude. Someone said a positive approach to life will eradicate regret or reproach from your life. When you're in a tight corner, maintaining a positive attitude is key to your breakthrough. If you're going to navigate through a period of change, sudden or unexpected change. At the beginning of 2008, I didn't expect that I would lose all of my money. I didn't expect that all my savings would be gone. I didn't expect that my father would be so sick that all our resources would go to his health care. I didn't expect him to die. I didn't expect that at the end of the year, I would be miserable and unhappy. 2008 was a horror year for me. It was a horror year. And at the end of that year, all right, I was just at the lowest of my lows. So the change that was happening to me was unexpected, was unplanned, there was no way you could plan for that. But I was so determined, I was so focused that I wanted something good. And the only way I could do that was to just maintain a positive attitude. I'm going to tell you two things that a positive attitude will help you deliver. Number one, in order to navigate change, you need a positive attitude. So positive attitude will actually help you navigate that change and build that change. The reason why this is important, and I'm going to share my whiteboard again for you so that you understand what I'm talking about. You're here, but you want to go there. You already have a vision of the future. You're seeing where you are going. But where you are is uncomfortable for you. This place is uncomfortable. It's a tight corner. The only way you will be able to navigate this bridge of change is by maintaining a positive attitude at all times, irrespective, meaning that your internal environment is not dictated by the external circumstances. You've got to find a way to build an internal mechanism that maintains your joy and your vitality, irrespective of what's happening outside. If you cannot successfully do that, you are not going to see the opportunities that are there. So the first thing is that if you're going to navigate change successfully, you need a positive attitude. And that's because positive attitude gives us strength and hope. Positive attitude, what gives us strength and hope. If you want to have strength, if you want to have hope, you need a positive attitude. It is key. We cannot overemphasize that. A positive attitude will give you hope, will give you strength, will give you vitality, will give you encouragement. It's really important to have and to maintain a positive attitude. Number two, in order to create change. So it's one thing to navigate change, it's another thing to create your own desired change. In order for you to, and that's what my mandate is, that's what my mission is. My essence is to help you navigate change without losing your identity, without losing your individuality, without losing your purpose. But my other calling is to also build people, build leaders that have the capacity to create their own desired change. And everything you need to create the change in your life has already been given to you. Everything you need, if you don't have it now, it's because you don't need it. Everything you need to create the change you desire has already been given to you. That's why I call this the pioneers of change. Pioneers are change makers. They don't just wait for change to happen to them. They, in the despicable situation, in difficult circumstances, they create their own desired change. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll be able to get out of this. But if you're going to do that, you need a positive attitude, because positive attitude opens up your eyes to see opportunities. See, there are many opportunities that pass our way by that we do not see because we're not positive. Because when you're not positive, you look inward, you look downward, you don't look outward, you don't look upward. Are you with me? And that's very important. If you're with me, I want you to just leave a comment. Let me see those who are with me. Leave a comment. What are you getting so far? What are you getting so far? Let me see. Put up something. Yeah, leave a comment there right now. Let me see whether you're getting what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a positive attitude. Yes, fully with you. Thank you so much, Flo. Any other comment there? Yeah, Tunde says inspired. Yes, good, good, good. I want more comments. Come on. Let's put on comments there. Let me see. Getting something energetic, positive approach. Yes, positive attitude is key. Absolutely. All right, all right, all right. So you're with me all the way, all the way. You need to, you need to. You see, a positive attitude dictates your internal environment. When you have a positive attitude, your eyes will be open to opportunities. Let me give you an example. In 2000 and I think this was 2006 or yeah, 2006. I got an opportunity to go to South Africa from Nigeria on an exchange program, but I couldn't afford it. You know my situation at the time. I couldn't afford it, but I wanted to go to this university in Cape Town for an exchange program. And so I got the opportunity, I applied for the visa, I got the visa. So I had the opportunity for the exchange program, I had the visa, but I had no money to travel. And I just couldn't afford the flights. So one day, but I went to a wedding reception. I went to a wedding reception, but I was positive. You see, one thing I realized is that you have to be positive at all times. You have to be positive. You have to be positive. So I was in a wedding reception. Guess what happened? There on in the reception, the chairman of the reception was a CEO, was CEO of one of the big insurance companies, in Nigeria. So I saw him sit down there with his entourage, and he had one or two policemen who were sort of his security. And so he stood up from the chair, he was going to the bathroom. And as he stood up, I just felt in my mind, this is it. And I felt it was doing me like, oh, saying, yeah, go move this man. I'm telling you the truth. I stood up from where I was and I walked up to this man. I walked into the bathroom. He went to the toilet, did his thing. I did my thing. On his way out, I just said, sir, his security wanted to push me. We said, no, no, don't do that. And he said, talk to me. And I said, excuse me, sir, I am a fifth-year medical student from the University of Lagos. I've got the opportunity to travel to South Africa for an exchange program, and I'd like you to support me. I'm telling you, this man just looked at me and said, whoa, you can't afford it? I said, no, I can't, but I really love to go, and I'd like you to support me. That was on a Saturday. He said, okay, give me a card. He said, come to my office on Monday. Never spoken to that man before. I got to his office on Monday, and he counted for me. That was the first time in my life that I would touch $100 US bill. $100 US bill. He counted money for me in US dollars. Couldn't believe it. Absolutely remarkable. That's how I found myself in South Africa. I bought the flight ticket straight away, straight to South Africa. Positive attitude opens up doors. Strangers, you will see opportunities. You will get that revelation, you get that insight because you're positive, because you're not down, you're not moping, you're not looking for sympathy and empathy and looking for people to calm you and to feel, oh, feel bad for you. You're always thinking, oh yes, what can I do? How can I improve? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? A positive attitude. A positive attitude is really important. I share with you this. When I came to Australia, I told you, I came to Australia finally in February 2009. I borrowed $500 from two people to travel down here. The lady, let me tell you another one. This is just all positive. After I paid for my flight, I had no accommodation. No accommodation. And I was coming to Perth for the exam. There was no accommodation. So I was in the doctor's lounge when I had my friends talk about it. They were not my friends, actually. They were my senior colleagues. They were talking about their classmate, one of their classmates. So one of them mentioned her name and said, oh, she's in Australia. No, she's in Australia. They were not talking to me. I overheard them. But I was so sensitive. You see, when you have a positive attitude, the things you need to hear, God will make you hear them. You will just find yourself, I don't know why I was in the doctor's lounge at that time when they were discussing this lady that I'd never met before. So you know what I did? Facebook was relatively new. I was new on Facebook. I went to search her on Facebook. Boom! I saw her. Never met her before. I sent her a message. I added her as a friend. She didn't add me back, but I sent her a message. And I said, hey, I'm a doctor from blah, blah, blah. I'm coming over to Perth. Hi. She added me after she saw that. And then we started chatting live. It was night. It was a night in Nigeria at the time. And I think it was the following day in the morning in Australia. And we just started chatting. And towards the end of the chat, I just made a bold request. I said, and I'm coming over. Would you be able to help? It was awkward. It was an awkward silence. She's a married woman, and this is a young man, But then she said, okay, I'll get back to you. And then the next day, she said, tell me more about yourself. So I started talking about myself and everything. I said, what do you do now? I told her, oh, are you a Christian? I said, yes, I'm a Christian. Where? I said, I'm a pastor in a youth church, so church. And he said, oh, that church? That was the church I attended when we were young. My parents still attend that church. Unbelievable. Where do your parents live? I told her where my parents live. Wow. My parents live in the same estate. Unbelievable. So she said, wow, 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 wow. She now said, okay, you know what? I'll talk to my mom. She talked to her mom. Apparently, my mom knows my mom. So she said, I want you to go see my mom. So I went to her mom's house. She had just delivered at the time. She had a baby, her first child at the time. So her mom interviewed me. Her mom was happy. Her mom wanted a career. Her mom had been looking for somebody. She had this whole bag. She wanted to send stuff. Because that was, I think, her mom's first grandchild. I don't know. I can't remember now. But they wanted to send stuff. They were looking for someone. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? That was from a conversation in the doctor's lounge that had nothing to do with me. Do you understand what I'm talking about a positive attitude and how God arranges things for us when we are positive? A lot of us pray for breakthroughs, but when we pray for breakthroughs, we still go back having a negative attitude and not being up and about and not doing what we should be doing. This woman interviewed me and recommended to her daughter, yes, this is a good guy. She spoke to her husband and they said, come over to our place. I'm telling you the truth. When I got to the airport in immigration at the Perth International Airport, they were like, wow, 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 wow. They opened up my luggage and they said, whoa, 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 what's happening here? We thought you were coming here for an exam because I told them I was here for an exam. Why do you have baby clothes? More than half of my luggage were baby clothes, were stuff for her. And I was just like, well, my, sister or cousin or whatever, my sister, I think was here, introduced her, like, we're from the same part of Nigeria, in blah, blah, blah. And she's hosting me and everything. And of course, she was out there. So they confirmed and they let me in. I'm telling you the truth. This is my experience. A woman, that was the first time I would ever meet her. She brought me into her home. You know, when she came to pick me from the airport, she came to pick me from the airport with a Mercedes Benz. I'd never been into that kind of luxury car. She drove me on the Saturday to my exam in a E-Class Mercedes Benz, brand new. I was like, me? 3 days ago, I was taking, the buses they call Moloe. 1 week ago, actually, Moloe in Lagos. And then 1 week later, here am I in an E-Class Mercedes Benz cruising to my exam venue. A woman that I just met 3 or 4 days earlier. Come on. If this is amazing, put the amazing. Let me know you're listening to me. I still feel amazed about that story. Are you with me? Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Good. Yeah. It's unbelievable what can happen when you have a positive attitude. Yes. Amazing. Flo says, amaze balls. Wonderful. Yes. When we have a positive attitude. Listen, guys, I am not here to waste anybody's time. Time is so precious. Time is so precious. And I know for you guys, time is also precious. I am here for value. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you value. I'm here to give you value. And I hope that by hearing my story and hearing some of the things I have to say about change, you can create your own change. You can create. I can't tell you all of this in one go. Okay, because of time, I've got to move on to the next one. But before I move on to the next one on purpose discovery, let me quickly mention this to you again. I'll mention this to you again. You see, when I go to Western Australia in Perth, Western Australia, as I said, I came on a 3-month studies visa, but I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job. Oh no, this story is going to take too much time. Let me keep it in the cooler. This one is powerful. It's powerful. But it's not going to allow me to talk about. I'll probably come back to it if we have time. Let me talk to you about the next important value, the next important principle of change. That's purpose discovery. And this is connected to having clarity about your destination. And it's very important. If you're going to navigate things, you need to know where you're going. You need to have a clear vision about where you're going and what God is calling you to do. Very, very important to have that. Very important to have that. You must discover who you are. You must discover what your purpose is. And it's very important. A lot of people are just meandering, going around without really understanding what their purpose in life is, what they've been called to do. And I hope you would understand that. Let me tell you another story. You see, my father and my mother, this is a story, very personal story now. I'm going to tell you about my background so you understand what I'm talking about. I was from a middle class kind of family. My father was a printer, he had a printing press. And my mom worked as a supervisor with NITEL. NITEL is a national telecommunications corporation in Nigeria. So they were, in the 70s. I think they got together in the late 70s, and they got married, I think, in 1980 or 81, up there about. So they were, and those days life was very smooth. My father had a very good business. My mom was doing quite well. They'll tell me wonderful stories about my father would come on a Friday to pick my mom from work and straight to the airport. Without a visa, they'll travel to London. From London, they will take the tube or the train to Paris. From Paris, they may end up in Luxembourg on a weekend. I'm telling you, crazy stuff. And then they will be back by Sunday night, back in Lagos. Those kind of crazy things. They were just okay. They were not sort of super rich, but they were comfortable. They were okay. I remember my mom would tell me when she was pregnant with me, or with me in her tummy, she went to do her shopping in London, and all those stores and everything, and life was good, and everything was happening. And later, my mom decided she wasn't going to work again. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So my father's business was really thriving. Until my father's business collapsed. He had a contract with the government of Cameroon. Cameroon is another African country, and to print health science textbooks for the whole country. I don't know how he got the contract, but somehow the contract failed. My father lost every single thing. I remember those days they would take these French textbooks to the streets, my mom in a car to sell, just to recoup their money because they had spent so much money and they lost everything. And that was how their marriage started to unravel. My parents started fighting. Things were not working. The disagreement was very palpable. I remember as a young child, and my father had anger issues. He would beat my mom to a pulp. Oh, God. He would beat her to a pulp when he's angry. He lashed out at my mom, and my mom too was very hot. Hey, my mom was also my mom. Hey, 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 hey. My mom is a very hot head, and we still laugh about it now. She's seen that she's grown older now. Hey, although she will never lose an argument, even up till now. She knows it. She's around. If I say mom now, if you say A, she says it's B, you can never win the argument. And she say A, I'm Christian now. I am Christian now. Look everybody. No, 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 no. She has that kind of sass. You will never, pull her down. Even with the bleeding lips and bruised face, she will still stand and say, no, 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 you are wrong to my father. It was very chaotic and I was never happy. I'm telling you the truth. As a young child, I was never happy. I was never happy. I remember my classmate was having a birthday party when I was 6, and my mom was getting us dressed. And my father said, where were we going? We said, a birthday party. My father said, no, for no reason. And my mom said, why? And he said, no reason. But then my mom just ignored him. My mom kept dressing with us. The next thing I knew was that my father just pushed us aside and, gave her the beating of her life. The beating of her life because she kept dressing us up when he said no. I can't forget as a 6-year-old. I can never forget that day. He locked us in his room, beat my mom. He beat her out of, I'm telling you the truth. By the time neighbors came, please help, they banged on the door. I don't know when he got tired and exhausted of, whipping the woman. And I was a 6-year-old. Let me tell you, I still remember where I was. I still remember where my mom was when the first slap landed. I still remember. But I remember. So that scarred me. I was never happy. I was always scared of my dad. Always scared. So we never had a good relationship. My father and I never had a good relationship. I never trusted him. I just never got along with him. And so internally, I felt that, how will I have a family? Now I've got two boys. I know what it means. I know what it means. But I never had that love of a father. My father was always angry. He never knew how to handle failure. That was his first big failure in life, where his business collapsed. So I think he never knew how to handle it, and he just took it out of my mom and out on his family. I couldn't blame him, because when he supported us. He was a good man. My father is a really good man at heart. He married very late, in his late 30s, brought about 10 of his siblings from the village to Lagos, trained them up, sent them to school. He was a giver. My father was a very sacrificial man. But when things went well, you will see the best side of him. My father can give you his eyeball when he has. But when he did not have, it was a different animal. He was angry, and he felt he did. And I understood he never deserved any of those things that happened to him. It was just unfortunate. But I learned from my father's mistakes that in all the disappointments he had, my father was never positive. My father was angry. My father lashed out. My father felt it was every other person's fault and not his own fault. And in all of these problems, their marriage started to collapse. He was fighting on fighting on fighting. I remember it affected me. One day I came back, I was in university. Imagine, I was in the university already. And I got home to find my father on top of my mom beating her. They were in their 50s, for God's sake. My father was almost 60. And my mom said the first time he beat her up, she was in her 20s. Can you imagine that? Unbelievable. I grabbed hold of him. Now I was in the university. I grabbed hold of him and I held his neck. I'm telling you, I was a Christian. I was a Christian leader. But at that time, all of my Christianity, I don't know where it was, my self-restraint, I couldn't just sleep. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed my father and I pushed him against the wall violently. And I said, never ever touch her again. Never ever touch her again. That was the last time he did it. As far as I'm aware, that was the last time. And those emotions are still raw today. I still feel that emotion today. I still feel that emotion today. You know? So through that pain and through poverty, we were living in poverty, abject poverty. When the business collapsed, poverty. I remember a Christmas where Christmas Day, we had nothing to eat. You know what we had for Christmas? Boiled plantain and palm oil. My mom and 5 children, boiled plantain and palm oil. Unripe plantain. Ah, God. Boiled plantain and unripe. I don't know where my mom got it. He just went out that money to look for food. No job, nothing. 5 kids to feed. Came back with boiled plantain. We had some palm oil at home. We boiled it. It tasted horrible, but we had it. All of us in our house, we used to eat from the same plate. We never ate, when we were growing up, when my dad wasn't around, we never ate from different plates. We ate from the same plate. All of us, we all ate from the same plate. Because the portions were so small that you couldn't divide into how many mouths, too many mouths to feed. So we just had to eat from the same plate. This is all crazy stuff, man. And I remember that my mom would sell her clothes. I remember taking my textbook to the woman who fries bean cake, we call it akara, at the junction bus stop, selling my textbooks for food. I did that. I remember all our textbooks, primary school textbooks, we would take it to the woman and she would give us, textbook, we'll sell it for food. That was how things were. I hated poverty. I hated poverty. I hated poverty. But those experiences, I realized, were building in me resilience and were pointing me towards my purpose. Remember, I'm talking about purpose discovery here. If you're going to navigate change, what you need to understand is that those difficult situations are often used to teach you and to point you towards your purpose. All right? Point you towards your purpose. After going through high school, I was in a private school, Dorrego's Private Academy. When I was pulled out to a public school, we had no chemistry teacher. Things were difficult at the time. And then from there, I got into the college. I went to Yaba College of Technology in Lagos to study computer science. And I remember that every morning, for a whole year, I had no breakfast. No breakfast. I lived a fasted life. I wake up in the morning and I will knock on the door of neighbors to get transport fare to go to school. There was this woman who was faithful. Every morning she would give me enough fare, transport fare, to get me to just half of the way, or about 3/4 of the way. And I remember, for those of you who are from Nigeria here, I think the majority are, you would remember, I used to go through them to, there's a big terminal called Oshodi, horrible. Those days it was horrible. This was in the 90s, in the late 90s, 98, 99. By the time I get to Oshodi bus stop, I would have only 5 naira left. That 5 naira was what's going to take me to Yaba College of Technology. So I would have to wait for the bus, the big bus. We call them Molu. I don't know what name they call them these days, or whether they still even exist. I've been out of Nigeria almost 12 years. So I would wait for it to be filled up before I get in, because my 5 naira can only get me in standing. So I can't get a seat with 5 naira. So I have to wait for the bus. On a Monday morning, with my books, I used to have a bako sack. I was in higher institution, not in secondary school. My books were wrapped in a bako sack. I had a blue Kito sandal I wore for a year. One blue Kito, K-I-T-O. For those who remember Kito sandal, I wore a Kito sandal to school for a year with one oversized baggy shirt. Everybody knew me, and I would wrap my books in a bako sack, and I would stay there and wait until the seats are filled up so I can get in there to stand. When I stand, I'll get off, and I'll now trek from the bus stop called Jibowu bus stop to Yaba College of Technology. Those from Lagos will understand what I'm talking about. The first day I could afford a bike from Jibowu bus stop, I don't know how many miles, it's maybe 5-6 miles, from Jibowu bus stop to the college. I shared a testimony in the fellowship. I praise God. Today, I had an extra 10 or 15 naira to take a bike. And every day I got to campus, it was by faith. No breakfast, no lunch. I didn't have money to come back. I just had enough money to get me there. But how I managed to complete an OND for 2 years, I do not know. Somebody paid for my fees the 2 years. Somebody from church paid my fees the 2 years. This was before I got to medical school. When I got to Yaba Tech, you know how old I was? I was 14. I finished my WAEC at 14 plus as my secondary school education. So I was 15, just before my 15th birthday. I was young. I was 15. In fact, the birth certificate I used to enter there was, because the entry level was 16. I used a fake birth certificate to get into Yaba College of Technology. I had to make restitution when I graduated. I had to go back there to say, listen, I was too young for college. But I was so fast. I had finished secondary school at 14. And so my father just found the certificate for me and said, go. And I went. And it was hard. I was 15, and I would have no meal. Sometimes I'd be sleeping in class. And then from there, I would just struggle. I remember the day I went to a brother's house, and his brother's room in the hostel. I was not even in the hostel at the time. I didn't have accommodation. I went to his room and he gave me beans. Whoa! I ate and ate and ate, and I slept off. Do you know when I woke up? I woke up around 5, 6. I wanted to go. He said, oh, but we have a night vigil today. Do you want to wait? Because they had given me beans, I had to wait for a vigil. And I had to call home that I'm not coming home. It was on a Friday. Unbelievable. That was how, because I knew that they were going to give me transport fare after the vigil back home. So I went with them to the vigil outside of campus, and then before I go home the next day. Every day, in my lunch, I would go to there were many days I would go to, I would just go by faith to the cafeteria. It's not, I use the word cafeteria, you guys know what it is, like an open, where you use one hand to push away the flies, the other hand, you take your swallow kind of setting. And I remember I would go there and I would just be waiting, hanging around, sitting there. I'm not ordering food, I'm sitting just by faith, because I'll be hungry like anything. And I'll be like, I know somehow I'll get food. And most days I'll get food. Don't ask me how. Sometimes the women will just come and just give me scraps. Sometimes somebody will pay for me, but I got fed. I never showed it on my face. People never knew. And that evening, if it's a Monday, I'll still go to church and I'll teach Bible study. And I'll find my way to the bus stop. Do you know how many times I begged for transport fare at the bus stop? I was a college student. I still finished that year with a distinction. I had a distinction in calculus, in mathematics, it was computer science programming. I had the best results in the final year of college at the age of 16, with no father around to support me, with nothing, absolutely nothing. But in all of those things, I realized that I was way ahead of my age. So there are three key principles, and this is not original to me. This is not original to me. Okay, so these are some of the things I've learned from other people, including people like Fela Kuti and others. 3 pointers to your purpose. Number 1, your talents, your gifts. I realized very quickly that I was gifted with knowledge, academic knowledge. I knew that I was not I'm not a fixer. If you tell me to carry buckets, I can't carry buckets. But if you tell me to read a book and tell you everything in the book, I can do that. I knew that I was gifted, I was talented. So I knew that I was going to be highly cerebral, doing something that is very complex and analytical. So that was something that really, and that was a compensation for me, that even though things were difficult, I could, I was academically gifted. Not everybody is gifted that way. And you must understand the way you're gifted. You understand what I'm saying? If you're struggling, you're naturally struggling with numbers, you're naturally struggling with complex stats and everything, then why go to medical school? You will struggle. It will be difficult. So there are a lot of things that your natural abilities are often a point. God will never give you an ability or a gift that is unwaived. It's often a pointer. Your gifts, your natural gifts and talents are pointers to what purpose you should be pursuing. The second thing would be your personal experiences, which will build up function. And the reason why I've told you all of these stories is to let you know about my background and how that influenced my pursuit of my purpose. Because I grew up in poverty, because there was a lot of emotional pain, there was a lot of emotional turmoil. All of that just built up in me a desire to help vulnerable people, because I know what it means to cry for food. I can understand. I look at my son now, who is now 9, and he can't understand. Listen, until you leave these things, and some of mine is not the worst of trials. I know that. I know there will be people here who have gone through worse. I respect that. I'm not trying to, get any sympathy here. Do you understand? But I'm just trying to use my own experiences to teach a principle here about understanding your purpose. Your past experiences will build in you a resilience and build in you a passion that would be indicative of your purpose most of the times. Your past experiences will build in you a resilience that would contribute to a passion in you. And I realized that through all the experiences I went through, I started having a passion for vulnerable people. I was sensitive to vulnerable people. I was always wanting to help vulnerable people. When I see people in pain, when I see people hungry, do you know that even up till now, it's very difficult for me to turn anybody back who asks me for money, because I've been there before. I've asked strangers for money. I've been at the bus stop begging for transport fare. I know what it means for a grown man, a well-educated person with Queen's English begging for transport fare. I've been there. And so when people do that to me, but you know what? Even now, I'm being stretched. Do you know that in the last 3 to 4 months since I started all of this, people building ministry, the majority of people will reach out to me asking for money. And of course, I know that people want to, and I'm like, listen, I'm not there to give you money. I'm here to give you value, something more than money. All right. And I know, yes, we can help. But don't, my connection with you is not just to give you money. So yesterday, somebody just connected with me, and the next thing was asking for a brand new laptop to do his design stuff. And I said, why do you need a brand new laptop? I couldn't answer. I just said, give me whatever you want to give me. I'm like, whoa. You've not even talked about, can we connect together? Can I learn from you? Can I be a mentee? Can we get value? But then I'm still sensitive to that. I'm sensitive to that because my past experiences have taught me, have built in me a passion and a desire to help vulnerable people or people who are going through. Let me share this experience to you because this is probably the best time to share it. I know our time is, almost up or even up actually, but you pardon me, I'll take a few more of your minutes. Do I have permission to take a few more of your minutes? Give me a thumbs up if I can take a few more minutes. Thumbs up. I don't want to be rude, We've got to, I want to respect your time here. Thumbs up if you want me. Flo says yes, bam. Yes, thumbs up. Any more? If I get 5 thumbs up, I will continue. Come on, give me a few more thumbs up if you want me to continue. Yes, Tunde says yes. Any more person? If you want me to continue, give me a thumbs up. Yes, yeah, double thumbs up. Yes, okay. Ukamaka has given me almost 10 thumbs up. Okay, all right, okay. I'll continue. I won't take too much of your time again. Now, I'll share this. When I was at the age of 6, and I think I've also said this in one of the videos I've just recently released. I went to my neighbor's house. I went to my neighbor's house. And while I was in my neighbor's house, I was 6. So I went to play with my neighbor. And while I was there, they had a house help, a woman. And she just, I think I slept off. By the time I woke up, I was on the bed with her in their house. Her hands were in my private area. She was fondling with me. That's how I woke up. And of course, she took my own hands into her own private area, and I was 6. And she was just doing all kinds of stuff. I couldn't say anything. I just stayed there. And when she had finished, I stood up, pulled my pants up, and I went back to our flat. I never told anyone, but I never forgot. Do you know that apart from her face, which I'm struggling to remember now, I still remember being under the sheets with her. I was 6. I remember that day crystal clear. I knew something happened to me that day. I knew something shifted in me as well. I knew something shifted in me. And I was very keen. I wanted to know what was, at that time at 6, I'd never seen a woman's private area before. I never knew what it looked like. So I remember, and this is going to shock you. The following day, I went to my mom's room. My mom was sleeping. And I tried to pull up a blanket to peep and see what was it. And my mom, maybe she was still sleeping or whatever, she hit my hand and I ran out of the room. She never asked me what I was doing. I never said anything. I never mentioned it to anyone at any time in my life until I got married. Until I got married, I told my wife was the first time I said something happened to me when I was 6. And do you know that when I became a young person and I saw the first pornographic movie I'd ever seen, that almost destroyed me. I knew that what happened to me at that time, and I'm a neurologist now, so I know exactly how the brain is wired. I knew something happened to me that changed the way I struggled with masturbation and pornography as a young person. Man, it was an addiction. I was hell-bound. And even when I became a Christian, it became a besetting sin in my life that I would go and I would cry to God every day. I say, God help me, oh God help me. I feel bad on Sunday, and then on Monday I'm watching pornography. And then on Sunday I'll go and I will be crying and I'll be like, God, why? Something is wrong with me. I shouldn't be doing this. And I knew it. The first day when I became a youth leader, and a lady walked up to me to tell me she had just been raped. I almost died. I lost my composure. My hands were shaking. That was the first person that, since that time, that would tell me that. And I was just like, oh God, I was sweating. I was like, oh. So that was when I realized that, when people say that, people who have been assaulted sexually cannot talk, they just, a lot of people have secrets that will go to them, to the grave with them, especially when it's somebody that you know or somebody that is a relative. It's even worse. It's even worse. And a lot of people that I'm sure there are people here who have secrets like that and we've not told anyone. This night, Nigerian time, and tomorrow morning, I will be talking about how to use your brain, how you can use your brain to heal. It's going to be, it's organized by a pastor called Pastor Damilola Oluwatoyinbo. And together with a few other people, I'll be speaking on how you can use your brain to heal your wounds, emotional wounds, and it's going to be very scientific and combine science, neuroscience with scripture and and all of that to be able to help people go through trauma, because a lot of us don't process trauma properly. And when we don't process trauma properly, it has a lot of effects on our minds. And it takes a lot of work for us to be able to renew our minds and get ourselves in a positive attitude. But you see, that experience also made me realize that I had a calling to help people come out of those holes. And that's something that God is helping me to build now, to build from. And God is teaching me a lot about how to help people who are going through trauma. And I'm going to be teaching a lot of original things later tonight, as I said in that program, about how you can harness the power of your brain to be able to heal wounds. And how you can train your brain through the power of God's word and through meditation and reflecting on his word and using positive affirmations to break through those, deeply rooted seeds of hurt and pain which result and manifest in unforgiveness. Am I speaking to someone today? So your purpose discovery, that journey to purpose discovery is linked with your past experiences. So I've talked about your gifts and talents, your passion and your past experiences, and of course your personality. Your personality. And one of the videos I did recently, I talked about why I went from computer science to medicine. And that was because in computer science, I was good at it. I had distinctions in a lot of the courses. I was good at programming and I was good at all the calculations and all that. But I realized I was not made to sit before a computer. That was not what I was called to do. I was called to minister to people, to speak to people, to encourage people, to be a people builder. That's what God has called me to do. I derive pleasure. Let me tell you, I can stay here for another 5 hours talking to you. The same thing with my job as a neurologist. I see people every day, people with headache, migraines, epilepsy, stroke. I love work. When I go to work for me is like going to Father Christmas, Santa. That's the way I feel. Some people go to work and they're like, oh, yeah. No, not me. When I go to work, I'm like, oh, I feel good. No. That's the way I feel. When I go to work, I'm excited. I feel, because I'm in my purpose, I feel so comfortable. I feel happy because I'm talking to people and I'm helping them out. And I can't solve everybody's problem, but I can give them a bit of comfort, give them a bit of hope, give them encouragement. About 2 weeks ago, I had a woman who was going through a tough time. She had depression, she had anxiety, she had migraines. Her life was in a mess. Everything was going downhill. And I looked at her. She was a Caucasian woman, an Australian Caucasian woman. And her daughter that was there, and they were like in a mess. She was crying. She was certainly depressed. Everything had gone downhill for her. And in our medical profession here, one of the things is that we are barred from talking about religion. So you cannot proselyte someone who's walked into your office, because as far as the government and the regulators are concerned, that's an unbalanced relationship. Because the patient sees you as, how would I put it there? If I tell the patient to undress, they will undress. If I tell them to do anything, they'll do anything. If I tell them to give their life to Christ, they'll give their life to Christ. As far as the government is concerned, it's not a balanced relationship. So you are not allowed to do that. All right. So I said, are you a person of faith? She said, yes, she was a person of faith. She goes to church, she does this, but and let me tell you, the consultation just turned into coaching and encouragement, and we held hands together and I prayed with her because I couldn't offer anything from medical science. I knew that. But I just held our hands together. We prayed together, and our daughter was there. And we were, I was almost in tears too, because she was going through a lot of tough times. And it really touched my heartstrings. At the end of my consultation was a prayer. We turned the consultation to a prayer session, to be honest. And I just prayed to God for her, and I just prayed, and I prayed for her healing, and I prayed for her. And she got a lot of comfort. She was like, God, thank you for bringing me to this doctor. This was what I wanted. This was what I wanted. She said she found me online, and she just felt that she connected with me, and she wanted to talk to me. But what she really needed was words of encouragement, because what she had no cure. But I just knew that those words of encouragement will lift her up, and it made a difference to her life. So you understanding your personality. Some people are not meant to be, you don't have the personality that will attract people or that will connect with people. You are more at the background. You are more operational. You are more, in terms of dealing with technical stuff behind the background, behind the scene. You are not meant to be seen. That could be you. You have to celebrate your uniqueness. We're all different. God hasn't made all of us the same. But we need to rejoice in celebrating our uniqueness and maximize the strengths, abilities that God has given us. I've got to stop there. So many more stories to say. 11 minutes past 8. I hope that this has been an encouragement to you, okay? I just summarized what I've talked about today. I've talked about 2 key principles today. I've got 7 principles. So we've still got a fair bit of way to go. We still have 2 more sessions, the 21st of November and the 28th of November. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap up the remaining 5 principles in those. So hopefully I'll do maybe 2 next week and then 3 more the following week, and we can wrap this up. But I'm sharing with you principles that will help you navigate change, principles that will help you create your desired change. Today I've talked about number one, having a positive approach, that no matter how tough things are, you have to remain positive, you have to remain hopeful, you have to be positive. Because what will positive attitude guarantee you? A positive attitude would give you strength and hope. Number two, a positive attitude will open your eyes to see opportunities that others are not seeing. Remember the story of Agar. I like the story of Agar. Agar was in a difficult situation. She was in an impossible situation. She was chased away by Abraham. Abraham chased her away. You know, I think a few weeks ago in the webinar, I was talking about Agar. Agar, I get Agar. Every time I read about Agar's story in the Bible, it touches my heart. Because Agar was about 13 years old when Abraham picked her up from Egypt. She was a young girl. She was taken away as a slave from Egypt when Abraham was there in Egypt and brought back to the land of Canaan. Agar had no father with her, no mother with her. She was a slave girl. She was a servant of Sarah. And then when she was old enough and her breasts were a little bit plumpy, Sarah pushed her to sleep with her husband. Agar didn't ask for it. Agar didn't ask to be impregnated. Abraham impregnated her. She had a baby, Ishmael. And Abraham loved Ishmael. But Sarah became jealous when she had Isaac. It was Sarah that was jealous, not Agar. It was Sarah that was jealous. Look at the way they treated Agar. Was it her fault? Was it her fault? She was a young girl. Do you think that's acceptable today, that a man will sleep with a slave? You understand what I'm talking about? And not only that, Abraham sent her packing because Sarah demanded it. And they gave her some jars of water and bread. Everything got finished. Everything was exhausted. And there was Agar with a baby crying for water. Agar was, I can feel her pain as Agar carried her baby, who was already floppy and limp, dehydrated. The baby's eyes were sunken, the lips were dry, skin was wrinkled, the baby had not eaten anything, and there was no water. Little Ishmael was dying, and Agar was the mother. And the father was the one that pushed him out. The man that mounted Agar, impregnated Agar, pushed her out. I said, get away to the desert. Go back to Egypt. Egypt that she had left decades ago when she was a child. She probably had no friends there anymore. She was betrayed by her bosses. She was betrayed by her boss and her boss's husband. And here she was with the child. But God had respect for her cry. She cried to God, God help me. And when she cried, the angel of the Lord said, Agar, look beside you, there's a well of water. The well had always been there. But her tears and her crying and her weeping had distracted her, blocked her eyes from seeing the well. Some of you, what you need is just revelation, insight into what God has already provided for you. That's all you need. I hope somebody connects with that story. Now, let me stop. I'm already in the preaching mode. All right. Any questions today? Any questions? First of all, before you ask any question, I just wanted to tell me what you've gotten so far. Use one word to describe how you feel so far, what you've obtained from this session today. One word. One word, give me that. Let me see. Just one word that will describe. Phenomenal. Olawale says phenomenal. Olajumoke says hope. Enlightening. Tunde says enlightening. Great. Wow. Abdul Mohim say, oh, I'm a third year student, University of Ilorin. Wow, congratulations. Wow. Great. Congratulations. Ifeatu says encouraging. Kolawale says positivity. Choma says encouraged. Flo says vindicated. Bayo says, I perceive this is specifically for me. I'm glad you're here. 83 people registered for this. 20 of you were here. 83 people registered. 20 of you are here. I congratulate you because I hope you're getting stuff. Bayo says he's also finished from Yabatek. Yes, good one. Now, Before I take the questions, I want to remind you, we're going to continue with this next week, same time. If you're in Australia, 7 o'clock. If you're in Nigeria, 9 o'clock. If you're in the United Kingdom, 8 o'clock. Okay? Please, let's connect together. We have a few more sessions to go. And I want to encourage you, please invite your friends. If you think this has been a blessing to you, invite your friends, encourage them. All right, send them the registration link, okay? Send them the registration link to join this session. You would hear nice stories. I'm sharing with you my story, and I'm sharing with you in a positive way that would help you build your own resilience and would also help you succeed. That's what this is all about. I'm not here to come and project myself in it. I'm not here to come. As you can see, a lot of the things I'm actually sharing with you are actually things that to reflect my difficult background. So I'm not here to make you feel sorry for me. No, I'm here to encourage you that no matter what the changes you're going through, no matter how high or how low you are, you can be better. And next week we will continue in that line. Next week we will continue. Next week I'll talk about the dreams, the power of dreams. And I'll talk about relationships, the power of dreams and relationships or networking. How that, I'm going to share with you my stories, relationships that brought me this far. And I'm going to be talking about my wife. I'll be talking about the people who pay for my fees. And I'll be talking about my dreams, all the dreams that I had and how those dreams came to pass. It's going to be powerful next week. Okay, so please send the link to somebody. Okay, is Tofumi there? If Tofumi or Grace is there, I'd like you to help me share the link, the bit.ly link for everyone again. Please send it to people, let them come, bring them. If you're getting value out of this, tell them, come over, you will be blessed by this. Okay, I'll take a few questions now. If you have any questions, quickly, I know time is not on our side. Questions, any question, just put it in the chat. If you've got a question, or if you want to ask the question live, but I'd like you to put on your camera if you can just notify me and we'll unmute you. I'm not sure if someone is giving a thumbs up. I'm not sure whether that's Oluwatosin Oshodi. I'm not sure whether they have a question. Does anyone have a question? Looks like I've done a very good job, have I? Beautiful. Any question? You can either ask. Bayo, are you raising up your hand because you have a question? Oh, okay, Bayo, do you want to type it out or you want to say it? All righty, okay. Oh, you type it out. Okay, so Bayo's typing out a question. That's good. We're waiting for Bayo's question. Any other person? If you have a question, just let us know, and we will answer that question. All right. While we're waiting for Bayo's question, I am just going to share with you very quickly. I'm sure some of you have seen it already. My new book is out, and this book actually, my story here captures this book. So this is it. I'm sharing it right now. Navigating Change, My Story. Navigating Change, My Story. Timeless Secrets for Growth in an ever-changing world. Okay? And the foreword was written by Reverend George Adegboye from Rema Chapel, the president of Rema Chapel International. Reverend George Adegboye wrote the foreword for the book, Navigating Change, My Story. So some of the things I've talked about today are in this book, and this book is an inspirational book, telling in this book I tell the story of how an underdog has gone through so many situations and has come to this point. All right, and I give God all the glory. But I think by putting this out there, this would help someone. This will help someone. So please pre-order the book. That this book is available for pre-order now. So I encourage you to pre-order the book, Navigating Change. We will try to put the links up there for everyone because I can guarantee you this book will change your life. This book will make a difference to your life. So it's available for pre-order now. And you can do that if you're in Nigeria. You can do that easily. I'm going to put that on the chat now, the pre-order links. I'm going to put it on the chat now so you can see that. The link that ends in NG is for Nigeria, and for the rest of the world, the link that ends in AU. All right. Yes, and you can post the book anywhere. Yes, it's all on my page, my Instagram page. It's on my Facebook page as well. So you can. I also want to invite you to join a group called the Pioneers of Change. That's a group that I've put together, and this group we're doing great things in this book. You get a lot of content from this book. I'm also posting the link right now. It's called Pioneers of Change. So I'm encouraging you, you can click on that link before it goes away, and you can find value there. Pioneers of Change. So just go facebook.com/groups/pioneering change. Pioneering change. So yes, let's go to Bio's question and then we'll round up. What could be the case if everything seems to be against you in spite of prayers and hard work? What will be the case? I'm not sure exactly what Bio is alluding to there, but I think it still goes to the same thing. That's why you're here. So you see, there is no problem. How did everybody say this? Nothing is qualified to be a problem if it does not have a solution. In fact, what qualifies a problem to be called a problem is because it has a solution. So I don't believe in this world that you're going through something that that you cannot come out of or that you cannot succeed. All you need to do is stop doing the same thing over and over again. A lot of people just oh, it's just prayer, prayer and hard work. Prayer and hard work will not guarantee you the result if you don't have a positive attitude, if you're not working in purpose, if you're not having good networks, if if you don't deal with people, treat people with respect. A lot of people say they work hard, but they're not nice to people. Sometimes it's the people that you treat, the way you treat people is what will open doors for you. Just being nice, just saying a good morning, having a good attitude, irrespective of how difficult it is. And that's why you're here. So I'm here to tell you principles that would help you in addition to your prayers. Are prayers good? Yes, absolutely. We should pray. We should all pray. That's important. But we also need to work. We also need to change our attitude, change our mentality, and apply these principles in our lives. And I'm sure as you do so, you will find out that things will work. Things will work. And never feel that your situation is, suffered. When I first came to Australia, I attended a church. The first time I went to church in Newcastle here in Australia, the pastor took us out for lunch after church. And while we had for lunch, sitting beside me was another, it was actually a PhD student at the time. He was also, a member of the church. And I thought I had suffered. On all the stories that I'm sharing with you, I was so keen to tell people that, I have suffered. If I tell you my suffering, so people said they were interested. So I couldn't tell them about the whole story. So I just took one or two stories to tell. By the time I finished my story, you know what my friend said? He said, if I start my own story, he said, you call this one suffering. If I start my own story, you will take, when you get home, you take off your shoes, you will roll on the floor, and you will thank your God. Yours is not the worst of trials. Okay? So there are people who are doing worse than you are right now, no matter how tough your situation may be. So, but just apply the principles that you have, and you will find that things will work for you. All right. I think one more person has a question. Oluwatosi. She wants to, I'm not sure whether it's a man or woman, but they want to speak. So let's see if we can get them to. So you can unmute yourself, actually. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Pastor. Thank you very much, sir, for the message. Yes. And the lesson. I have a question. Whilst you were speaking at the beginning, you spoke about having working in like daily alignment to your goal or to your dream or to your vision. You spoke about working daily in it. But my question is, what happens when you know your dreams, you know your goals, you know the end goal, but what you're doing at the moment is kind of taking you far from that day, that goal, that vision, that dream? What do you do?
Very important. Well, you've got to find a way to get back. Sometimes, and I'm going to talk about this later, when I talk about, I think, the last week, I'm going to talk about detours. You need to recognize whether where you are now is a detour. If it's not a detour, then you're in the wrong place. Sometimes when we are on the journey towards our destination, we go through certain detours. Those detours are divinely arranged for us. And it's very important to understand that that journey that you're on, which is tangential from where you're supposed to be going, if it's a detour, then you stick through it. But if it's not a detour, then you're wasting your time. So your job, what you need, is to be able to understand whether I'm in a detour right now. That's what you need to. I listened to a message by Priscilla Shire. I'm not sure how many of us know Priscilla Shire, a wonderful woman of God. She acted in The War Room and I think Overcomers. And she was talking about the power of detours. And her father too, Tony Evans, too, I listen to him regularly. And he was also talking about the power of detours. God takes us through detours in order to prepare our destination. Sometimes our destinations are not ready for us, but God takes us through detours while He's preparing our destination. And sometimes we are not ready for where we are going to. So God takes us through detours in order to prepare us. And we see examples, if you're a Christian in the Bible, with Joseph, with different people who went through certain situations that you feel, if you ask Joseph, what are you doing in Potiphar's house? Joseph, the dream of Joseph had nothing to do with Egypt. Joseph probably would have thought that he would have been king in Israel. But here he was, cut away from his family in an Egyptian jail. And he was like, God, why? But God took him through detours while God was building him up, developing him, because God knew he was going to be the leader of the world, the civilized world. And he was at the time. He was not just the prime minister of Egypt, he was the leader of the civilized world because Egypt was in charge of the world economy at the time. So you must understand that sometimes our journey is not straight. Our journey is like the readings of an electrocardiogram. For those of us who are doctors here, we know the ECG. It's not a straight line. If your ECG is straight, you're dead. Sorry, flat line. That's what they call flat line. They can't even shock you back to life. But your ECG goes up and down, goes up and down. Yes, that's how life is sometimes. And sometimes we walk away. It looks like, but I'm not supposed to be here. This is what God, sometimes God would even give you a word. And you know that this is where I should be, but you're far away from it. Sometimes we wander away. I've talked about Abraham. Let me use that as an example as well. Abraham, God told him to leave his father's house and to go to a land that he will show him. And Abraham went where he went to Canaan. When he got to Canaan, God said, this is the place. But the Bible says in Genesis that there was famine in the land. Sometimes you will find yourself right in the center of God's will, but there's famine. Has that happened to you before? When you know that you are doing what God wants you to do, you marry the man God wants you to marry, but the marriage is difficult. You are in the job that you should be in, but things are just tough. You are where you should be, but it's just not working. I'm not sure whether there's somebody there who is a witness to this. You know very clearly that you are in the will of God. You are doing what God wants you to be doing, but things are not working. You know that business was the business that God told you to start, but you are losing money. God told you to migrate and to move to that place. You know that you are right in the will of God, but there's no breakthrough. That was what happened to Abraham. But what did Abraham do? Abraham went down to Egypt. Abraham left the will of God. He went to Egypt. While he was in Egypt, he did not build a single altar. He did not offer a single sacrifice. But what happened to him in Egypt? He became wealthy. He became rich. He had maid servants. That's where Abraham got Hagar. How did Abraham get Hagar? He got Hagar in his backsliding. Abraham got Hagar when he left the will of God. And Hagar almost destroyed the plan of God for his life. Are you with me? Are you with me, Oluwatosi? Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're getting what I'm saying.
Yes.
So Abraham left Canaan because there was famine, and he went, Oh, sorry, my young son. What do you want? Okay, just take it. Sorry. Abraham left the center of God's will in order to go down to Egypt. And when he went to Egypt, oh God, what do you want? I'm sorry, here I'm still a dad. Yeah, this is it. All right. Bye-bye. Can you close my door? I'll stay with mom. Go. Bye-bye. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. So Abraham went down to Egypt. And when he went down to Egypt, he made a lot of money. He achieved a lot of stuff. But when he remembered where he was supposed to be, he came back up. And then he built an altar. And he rededicated himself. That was a detour. But that was not a detour. That was backsliding. That was walking away from the will of God. Some people are walking away from the calling of God on their lives, and they're making money. Some of you have left where you should be. You know what you should be. You know the career you should be pursuing. But because of money, you have left it. There are a lot of people who prosper when they walk away from God's will for their lives. They walk away from what they should be doing, and they make a lot of money and they prosper, but they don't get fulfilled. They don't get fulfilled because fulfillment is only found while you're in the center of the will of God. Fulfillment is only found when you're in your purpose. So I'll be talking more about detours in the next few weeks and how to, it's very important for you to be able to understand how to differentiate between a detour and a distraction. That's what I started with, that a distraction is an attraction that takes you away from your attention or, your purpose. And that's the definition I got from Fela Kuti, a very good man. So a distraction is an attraction that takes away your attention from your vision. So you must be able to understand the difference between a detour and a distraction. Are you with me? Yes. All right. I hope that answers my question. Good. All right. I think we would end it there right now. All right. Oh, someone said the Lord, the joys of a father. Flo says that yes. I'm really proud of my two boys. I just got two of them. And, it's what it is. When we're doing this from home, we have no choice. You know what he wanted? He wanted gloves, my lecture's gloves, because I've got some medical stuff here. So I've got gloves. So I'm sure he wants to just pretend to be a doctor. So why not? I'll give that to him. All right, guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming with me, and I appreciate you all. All right, and I hope I will see you guys again next week. All right. If you're gonna come next week, give me a thumbs up. Say yes, I will be here. I will be here next week, and you'll be here on time. All right. Yes. Thank you. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of things. Yes. Are you coming next week? Say I'll be here. I will be here. Good. So I look forward to seeing all of you next week by God's grace. God willing, see you. All right. And please, as I said, share the link. Have we found the link? Let me look for the link for you. For those who do not have the link, we need to get people here. So I think I can find the link for you. So please, we need you to register for this. We need you to register. I'm just trying to get the link right now. So I put the link up there. Yes, so it's bit.ly/change mentorship. So we can spread the word to everyone, okay? Spread the word, change mentorship, bit.ly/change mentorship. You can join us and, get value. That's what we are all about. Value. So long, farewell. I'll see you guys soon. Adios. God bless you in Jesus' name.